Bed sores are a big problem in nursing homes. Bed sores, people often say, what is a bed sore, right? Well, you hear it sometimes in the medical terminology. It's also called an ulcer, a skin ulcer. And bed sores can be staged from stage one being the least major bed sore, and then all the way up to stage 4 and even unstageable. And stage 4 and unstageable bed sores are ones that are not getting better. They are open wounds that can go down to the bone, that are awful to look at, awful to smell, unfortunately. And bed sores are something where if they're getting proper wound care for these issues, and these bed sores usually happen in the sacral area, which is right above your tailbone area, right there, right in that, right above the middle part of your butt, basically, and on your heels, on the back of your feet. Those are the two areas where you most likely see them. Bed sores, like I said before, with proper wound care can be resolved and should be resolved. The technology out there is great for dealing with these things. However, when you start to notice that your loved one that's in one of these facilities, they have a bed sore that goes from stage 1 to stage 2, which is a little bit worse, stage 3, which is really getting pretty awful to look at, and unfortunately, and especially if it goes to stage 4 or is unstageable, that's when you really need to get some help, and you need to find out what is going on. And obviously, you can always call my office. We'd be happy to help you with that issue. But you just have to, again, like I've said in a lot of these videos, you just have to be the vigilant voice for your loved one. Understand that any bed sore is a problem, but one that doesn't get better within a week or two, that's when you need to start to really raise your eyebrow a little bit and be like, what is going on here? Unfortunately, some of these places, when the bed sore gets too bad, they can't even treat them anymore. So that's when you'll see, your loved one getting an ambulance to the emergency room, right? And then, obviously that's a great clue that, hey, something is really wrong here, and somebody is screwing up majorly, and this is not right. And at the end of the day, you wonder, how in the world can this happen? These things happen for a variety of reasons. Bed sores can happen, for the most part. I mean, the biggest reason why they happen is because the residents aren't moved in their beds. They're not getting properly repositioned in their bed if they're having difficulty with mobility and whatnot. They're laying in the same position. And when your body lays in the same position, you have to look at where your pressure points are when you're sitting in a bed, right? And your main pressure points in your body are your sacral area, right above your butt, right above your tailbone right there. And then where your heels are sort of digging into the mattress, right? When you're lying down on your back. Those two areas are where we see the most common types of bed sores. And these bed sores are extraordinarily painful. Awful to go through. And sometimes when we're dealing with folks in nursing homes, these are people that don't have voices, right? Sometimes people aren't lucid at the time. Sometimes these folks aren't getting the care they need. But if they are lucid and they are able to communicate to you the problems that are going on, you have to listen to them. And they'll tell you that, hey, you know what, this has been going on for weeks, right? And when you see something like a stage 4, where it's down to the bone, or these really, you see wound vac, wound care systems, people coming in, treating this, and it goes longer than a week or two. That means you have to take some action. Someone has to help. Someone has to come in, help your loved one. You need some help. That's what our office does. We are the ones that have been educating ourselves over the past 10, 15 years about all of these abuses that go on, these instances of neglect that produce these awful, painful bed sores that, like I said, with proper care, should resolve, and these folks should be getting better. I've personally seen cases where these bed sores occur for months. And we're talking about places that will start to shift pass the buck. They'll say, you know what, we can't deal with this anymore. We'll send it to the hospital. And the hospital will take care of it for a while, and then they'll send it to a different rehab facility. And then they'll send it back to the first rehab facility. And then they have to go a few more weeks later again to the hospital again. And what you have to do, unfortunately, and I know this sounds crazy, but you have to request the records from all of these places, right? And these places, we're going to have admission. That's records that people, when they receive a patient, when they first get a patient, they're going to get records on admission, which means the first person that sees them, whether it's a nurse or doctor, is going to say, hey, I saw this person and they had this, this, and this, and they also had a stage 3, stage 4 unstageable bed sore, right? And they're supposed to take photos at that time. And when they discharge someone to go to another care facility, there's supposed to be discharge paperwork. That discharge paperwork is basically saying this person is leaving the care of our facility and going to another facility or going to the hospital, and this is the status of this patient, right? This is the status of their bed sore. So then the next facility that gets the person is going to have new admission paperwork. So then you have to look, does the discharge records from the first facility match the admission records for the second facility? And the reason why you're doing this is you're trying to figure out, basically, in the legal terms, a chain of custody, right? You're trying to figure out, hey, is this person, where did this person get the deviation of standard of care, right? Where did we go wrong? Like somebody messed up. And these places will all adamantly defend themselves saying we didn't do anything wrong, but you have to force the issue. And you force the issue by getting all the records. When you get all the records, you can see that, hey, when this person left the first facility, they didn't have a bed sore. But when they left the second facility, they did have a bed sore, right? And the second facility is going to try every trick in the book to try and blame the first facility because they don't want to have it on them. Or they're going to try and blame the third facility. The only way you can do this is to create a comprehensive medical timeline, right? My office does that. We create a medical chronology that details every single symptom, diagnoses, anything that the patient has from each facility they're at. And we're gonna match them up, right? You're going to see, hey, who's lying? Because somebody's lying. And then once we figure out who's lying, then we're going to nail them, okay? We're going to absolutely bring a case against them and say, you know what? You have caused harm to this person. You have caused harms and losses to this person. This person is miserable because if you've never gone through a bed sore, like I said, ask the people that have. They'll tell you they wouldn't wish it on their worst enemy. Getting these people the proper care is sometimes the best thank you that I get from my clients, right? Hey, you know what, Chris? We went through 3-4 places. You finally got us over to someone that was able to help us, and my mom got better in a few weeks, right? Those calls, those testimonials from our clients are some of the best that we can get. Better than any dollar amount, better than any settlement check. It's genuine thank yous from our clients and their families that we're able to help their grandmother or their grandfather in these situations. And we're happy to do it because at the end of the day, someone has to stand up for these folks. And we all have a fight to fight in our life. And that's one of the fights that we like to fight for our people. So, we like to fight for the little guy, right? The little guy sometimes is grandma and grandpa. And those cases are really, I think, what sets us apart as a law firm.